Hi, I'm Jeff Tobe and I am Coloring Outside the Lines. As you've probably noticed in all of my presentations, I'm committed to getting people more engaged at what they do every day. I believe that the more engaged people are internally, the better the experience externally. A huge part of this engagement involves accountability. Accountability in the workplace means that all employees are responsible for their actions, behaviors, performance, and decisions. It's also linked to an increase in commitment to work and employee morale, which leads to high performance. However, accountability is lacking in so many workplaces. Accountability is about ownership and initiative. This means that when a leader says they'll do something, they follow through and get it done. It's recognizing that other team members are dependent on the results of your work. It's about open, proactive communication to keep team members informed of the status of your commitments because it has a direct impact on their ability to achieve their own commitments. Accountability is vital for effective leadership today. Taking ownership at work is about taking the initiative and doing the right thing for the organization. It's about taking responsibility for results and not assuming it's someone else's responsibility. It's the opposite of passing the buck. Ultimately, when leaders, managers, or supervisors consistently demonstrate ownership and accountability, trust is formed. You trust someone will do the right thing and trust that they'll do what they said they do. Trust is the backbone of high-performing teams. So, what happens when there's no accountability? It damages the team and may also hurt your organization's reputation in the marketplace. Who wants to work for a company where accountability is not one of their core values? Well, okay, maybe there are a few people who might actually enjoy that. When people are not accountable, one person's delay becomes the team's delay. One shortfall snowballs into bigger shortfalls. Tolerated missed deadlines, lack of punctuality, and unfinished work have the tendency to make this behavior no big deal. People learn that the real deadline is a week from the published one, that consistently being 10 minutes late for a meeting is the norm, that subpar work is acceptable. Your team suffers and ultimately your workplace culture suffers too. Having a leader who isn't meeting their commitments and isn't being held accountable causes frustration and disengagement with the rest of the team. According to Partners in Leadership, a lack of accountability in the workplace leads to low team morale, unclear priorities across the team, employees becoming less engaged, the team or individual not meeting goals, low levels of trust, and high turnover. The two biggest reasons that we resist holding others accountable are because we're uncomfortable doing it and because we forget to do it. Here's how to tackle these issues. Number one, lead by example and hold yourself accountable first. As a leader or manager, you're the pace setter of tone, performance, and culture for your team. People will follow your lead. If you're continually showing up to meetings late, pushing deadlines, and not owning up to your own mistakes, the team will follow suit. So, how do you demonstrate your own accountability in the workplace? Complete tasks that have been assigned to you by the timeline you agreed on. Be responsible for the success of your team and make the effort to support your team when needed. When you schedule meetings, respect everyone else's time by showing up prepared and on time, and expect that others do so as well. Number two, work on your feedback skills. This is a biggie. Giving tough feedback isn't easy, but you can get better at it. One of the most important things you do as a leader is to provide feedback. In fact, a global survey conducted by Deloitte found that learning and development is a top priority for both millennials and Gen Z, coming in third after fair pay and opportunities for advancement. So, even negative feedback is better than no feedback at all. When you regularly give feedback, including positive feedback, it makes tough feedback much easier to give and receive. It also reduces the chance of your direct report being surprised by the feedback that they're receiving, leading to further disengagement. At its heart, good feedback comes from a place of genuinely wanting to help someone grow. You need to give a damn. The second part of it is to be clear and direct. Feedback should not be ambiguous. The last thing when it comes to feedback is to recognize that procrastinating feedback only makes things worse. As uncomfortable as it is, when we procrastinate providing feedback, we only make matters worse. Issues very rarely resolve themselves and just turn into bigger issues. Eventually, you have to deal with it. It's easy to deal with the issue as soon as possible for you, for the person you're providing the feedback to, and for the rest of the team. Remind yourself of this often. Number 3 is to make accountability a habit. Setting up a reminder to give and solicit feedback as part of each meeting will help ensure that feedback flows consistently. I believe one-on-ones and team meetings are great opportunities to build a habit around accountability. Here are a few of the questions that you may want to add to your meetings to make accountability a habit. Is there anything we should start doing as a team? Would you like more or less direction from me on your work? Do you feel you're getting enough feedback on your work? Is there an aspect of your job where you would like more help or coaching? How could we improve the ways our team works together? Number 4, keep track of your commitments and hold each other accountable. Commitment of any kind is only powerful if you tell someone. Go as far as to appoint accountability partners in your meetings. When one team member commits to doing something, ask another team member to hold that person accountable by the deadline or by the outcome. If your employee commits to providing a work-back schedule for a project by such and such a date, make sure you have a way to check in on that day. One easy way to foster a culture of accountability, or if the damage has already been done, address a lack of accountability, is to make sure you're assigning action items during meetings. This is a perfect way to hold each and every team member accountable for their actions. Number 5 is encourage risk-taking in the workplace. When a problem arises or a project fails, fear of punishment often leads to negative employee behavior. More than 1/2 of employees admit to playing the blame game to avoid taking responsibility in an unfortunate situation. Rather than resort to finger pointing, build a culture of trust, collaboration, and transparency. You can do this by encouraging calculated risk-taking rather than discouraging ideas that aren't guaranteed to succeed. While success often comes from creative problem solving in response to failures, only 20% of employees view risk-taking as a strength. Motivate your people to color outside the lines where it matters, without falling off the page. Even when risk-taking doesn't lead to the intended result, it contributes to a healthy culture of learning. As a leader, you'll know you've successfully fostered a culture of accountability when your employees understand the values of the company, take personal accountability for fulfilling their responsibilities, are comfortable giving and receiving feedback, confront obstacles creatively and collaboratively, and take ownership and ask, what else can I do? As Buck Rogers once said, you can't talk about leadership without talking about responsibility and accountability. You can't separate the two. A leader must delegate responsibility and provide the freedom to make decisions and then be held responsible for the results. Keep this in mind. Leaders can't force people to develop a meaningful sense of accountability. They can create conditions that foster personal commitment by sharing an organizational culture that promotes accountability. Until next time, this is Tobe urging you to stay accountable and keep coloring outside the lines.